Well, we wanted to ask our legal guys to weigh in on this story. Richard Herman is in Las Vegas, and Avery Friedman is in my hometown, Cleveland, Ohio. And Avery, I'm not going to start with you, so I don't look like I'm playing favorites to the hometown man. So, fair, Richard, tell me here, what do you think of this? The government is tipping its hand here. I presume the government can really sort of do what they want to do. Is this legal? Is it appropriate to go after this account?
Well, Marty, first of all, we all know that our government is both humiliated, mortified, and desperate over all this WikiLeaks. Can they do this legally? Yes, they can. We have empowered our government with wide latitude in criminal investigations to look at your bank records, to look at anything they want. And this is absolutely fair game. These people have accounts with a United States-based company. Twitter's based out of San Francisco. So these are a federal subpoena issued by a judge for these records. Give it to Twitter, because the order that was served upon them precluded them from even notifying the customers. Twitter went to court for the right to be able to notify the customer. They were granted that right. Like the woman said earlier, they have 10 days now to try to get some sort of restraining order or block this. But I believe this information is going to be turned over. But again, it looks like a desperate attempt by our government to somehow, some way make up some sort of cause of action here. I don't think that one exists.
Avery, you agree? Is it desperation on the part of the U.S. government?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you why, Marty. I think the approach by the Department of Justice is absolutely the right way to go. I mean, clearly, when Eric Holder had his press conference about going after Brian Manning and going after Julian Assange, he didn't tip his hand. He's approaching this in the exact correct way. The order came from a United States District Judge out of San Francisco. That's where, indeed, Twitter is based. Actually, we would have never known, except the member of parliament in Iceland went public on it. Again, I think bottom line, if you're out there using social media, Marty, sooner or later, if in a criminal investigation like this, and again, for Manning, it's treason, among other crimes, it's appropriate for that data to be made available. They're going to get it.
Richard, do you agree with that, that anything out there on the internet I may publish, I may put, means it's fair game for the government to get?
Yeah, I mean, there's no expectation of privacy in Marty, and so it's going to be fair game, and it's a federal criminal investigation. Again, I just have to repeat it, it's wide latitude for our government to investigate, to subpoena, to do a proper investigation prior to bringing, very serious criminal charges. And look, they're doing what they have to do in order to see if they have a prima facie case to bring. Again, I don't think they have one, Marty. They're very desperate.
Yeah, bottom line, there is something there. The issue in the case is jurisdiction, not whether or not there's a claim. You're going to have to get your hands on Assange, but remember, there are other actors in this conspiracy. So, we'll talk about this further, but there is a claim. I believe there is, and I think the government's taking the appropriate approach.
How come it's not harassment?
Marty, it may very well be harassment. I mean, she's an Icelandic citizen, non-U.S. based citizen, who has enrolled in a company that's based in the United States. The material is absolutely discoverable and should be investigated by the government, as it is.
So how's it harassment? I don't see that it's harassment at all. It's an appropriate... Look, a subpoena is a court order. Turn it over. Now, she's got 10 days to assert her right to see if they can quash the subpoena. I don't think she's going to succeed. She's a supporter of WikiLeaks. I don't see the grounds upon which there's a quash. I think it is appropriate, and I don't see it as harassment in the least.
I like this case. This is the Courtney Love Twitter defamation suit. Well, I like this case because it raises a very fundamental issue. When you tweet, is that fact or is that opinion? And I've had people who've tweeted some very unkind things about me, and naturally, I never thought of suing anybody.
They did.
But here's the question. Can you go after somebody? What do you think?
Marty, bringing a lawsuit for defamation is one of the most difficult cases to prove in the United States. Regardless of what state you're bringing it, it's very, very difficult to prove. Here, besides all of the elements that they have to prove that the person was damaged. Were they damaged in some way, shape, or form by these statements made by Courtney Love? Well, that supersedes the point that Courtney Love has any legitimacy or she has the ability to damage someone. And that's what her lawyers are arguing, that basically she's a nut, no one takes her serious, so there can't be damages.
Well, it's easy to laugh, but Avery, are there serious issues here?
Well, there are, although I can't believe anybody would tweet anything negative about you, Marty. But the legitimate issue here is this. Among the words that Courtney Love used was, you know, hose bag, dirt bag, any kind of, you know, bag you'd choose, I would suppose. But this is clearly opinion. I'm surprised that the judge even permits this case to go to trial. I think generally, as opposed to a filtered medium where you have standards and practices very different than social media, I actually think that the judge should have thrown the case out. I think a jury will throw it out. It is serious, but it is opinion and nothing more.
Right, it's been postponed. We'll find out what happens. Avery, just to hear you say the word hose bag, I think was worth the price of admission. Is there enough evidence against Michael Jackson's doctor to go to trial? Richard and Avery will be back with the answer to that question in just a few minutes. But let's take a look at this case, and I think, of course, the real question here is there enough evidence against Dr. Murray to move on forward? Avery, what do you think?
Yeah, that's the question, Marty. And the evidence this week was really overwhelming. Among other things, a couple of doctors from UCL Medical Center said, number one, Dr. Murray never said anything about the meds that were administered, the propofol, although he did mention lorazepam, didn't mention the propofol, which is the more important thing. Security guard testifies, among other things, Marty, that Dr. Murray said, hide the propofol, hide the IV bags. Oh, my goodness. Even Dr. Murray's Houston-based girlfriend testified that she was on the phone with him for about 25 minutes before Dr. Murray even called 911. So for purposes of this preliminary hearing, the defense lawyers are handling it right. They're listening to the evidence. They're not cross-examining. This case is going to trial.
All right, well, obviously one of the messages is do not call your girlfriend before calling 911. Reverse that order.
Let's move on to another. That's a good proposition.
Yeah, another case here, the Anna Nicole Smith case. She passed away some time ago, but this case lives on, and as a result, so does she. Her companion, Howard K. Stern, judge there threw out a number of the convictions in the latest trial, and I'm wondering, you know, why did the judge do that?
Marty, go ahead, Avery. The district attorney is they're taking it up to the Court of Appeals. The jury ruled correctly. Here's what the defense was. Here's the defense. Howard K. Stern essentially is arguing, look, I am so stupid that I had no idea that violated the law. And look, I kept getting pants in high school. Then I got to hang out with Anna Nicole Smith. I was so blinded by my love that I didn't really know what I was doing. The jury didn't buy it. Prosecution obviously pursued that case. Jury came back beyond a reasonable doubt. I understand only in Hollywood, only in Los Angeles, Marty, will a judge say, look, we are so star-driven and we have media, therefore the privacy argument raised by Mr. Stern is a good one. I'm going to overrule the jury. That's why the DA is appealing this case.
Well, do you think this is the end of it here, Richard? I know you would like to think it's the end of it, but is it legally going to be the end of the road?
It's not the end of it.
It's absolutely going to be the end of this appeal is going to be denied. It's going nowhere. The judge found she had chronic pain syndrome. She was suffering physically and emotionally as a result of the death of her son.
Not the end of it.
These prescriptions were done properly. Nothing was done illegal here. He had a great attorney, my friend Steve Sadow from Atlanta, and it was a brilliant, brilliant move by the judge. It's going nowhere, Marty.
All right, Richard, I'm going to stop you there because I do want to move on. I have to renew my tabloid subscriptions because I'm really lacking here. Lindsay Lohan now, this case. It involves an incident at the Betty Ford Clinic with an employee, and the employee won't pursue charges. What do you think of this case? I mean, could she end up back in jail? Avery, what do you say?
No, very simply, she's got 4 witnesses to Dawn Holland, who was the employee. Case is going nowhere. It's not going to go to trial, and it won't be a probation violation. Case is over.
This is ridiculous. This is not rehab. This is pathetic. I hope he violates her, but he's too soft. He probably won't do it, and we'll hear from her again. It's 2 for 2 for Lynn's The Train Wreck in 2011 for our weeks of covering her.
So we'll see.
She's going to provide a lot of information.
I thought it was privacy, but then I remembered it's Lindsay Lohan. All right. Thank you.
Well put, Marty. Well put.
Very good to talk with you. All right. Thank you. I know he's saying something wonderful about me. We'll listen to Richard later in the commercial. A groom's take on his unique wedding.
It was really sloppy, and the dancing was terrible, and for that, it was perfect.
A flash mob wedding at a mall in Boston. Oh, What could be better? The story after the break.